Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, your weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast here on Trinity TV and TGT. I'm your host, Neil Parsonlal, and on this Indian Arrival Day, we wish all our viewers a happy Indian Arrival Day. Now for our top stories. Youngsters and adults have fun as they shine at the Catholic News Steps for Hope annual 1K and 5K races. Christopher Mitchell and Alexia John capture the top honors. Deacon Greg Jude Durham is ordained as a Carmelite priest. Archbishop Emeritus Robert Rivas tells him to always remember to put people first. A student of St. Joseph's Convent San Fernando becomes the first Trinidad and Tobago national to be selected for the Yale Young Global Scholars Program. And later we speak with newly ordained priest Father Greg Durham about his journey to the priesthood. And now for our top story. A day of fun, camaraderie and fellowship as the Catholic News hosted the second annual Steps for Hope at the Queen's Park Savannah last Saturday. The day featured two races, a 1K for toddlers and older children and a 5K for teenagers and adults. A love of running attracted children to the event, and despite their young age, they were serious about competing. Laura Pickford Gordon was there to take in the action as the 1K got off to a damp but fun start.
Every laughter reminds us of
a shower of rain before the start did not put a damper on the children's enjoyment of the 1K race. It was serious competition as boys and girls assembled for one loop within the savannah, ending where they started. Eager, excited parents gave encouragement, and for the very young, actually running the course with them. As the racers returned to the finish line, it was clear boys were leading. 7-year-old Ty Ransom topped the 7 and under category, crossing first at 4 minutes. There was a rush for second place, but Arian D'Souza, 7 years, managed to stay ahead of his rival, 6-year-old Daniel De Freitas. In the girls' category, the first to cross the finish line was Mia Ninval. Mia Leah Costa came second, and Sky Charles was third. In the boys 8 years and older category, the fastest was 12-year-old Ayele James from Tobago. Second and third respectively were Jalen Sedano and Josiah Henry. The top girls in the 8 and older 1K race were first, 10-year-old Melissa Davis, second, Jenia Sharp, and third, Terai Silverton. Whatever their time in the race, what mattered most was crossing that finish line. This is Laura Pickford Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
And the 5K event was won by Christopher Mitchell and Alexia John. As Roger Sand tells us, hundreds of persons converged on the Queen's Park Savannah opposite Archbishop's house for the event.
Before the race start, participants had the chance to warm up, stretch and get the legs and arms moving, including Vicar for Communications, Father Robert Christo. After warm-up, it was time for everyone to gather at the start opposite Archbishop's house. 3, 2... And what a sight to behold as Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon sent them on their way, close to 750 runners from all walks of life and all parts of TNT making their way around the Savannah and Hayes Street and back to the finish. There were the serious runners, those who were jogging, others giving all they had. The distinctive red, white, and blue signature Steps for Hope jersey standing out among the crowd. While others enjoyed this unique experience and not fussing with time nor finish place. 16 minutes, 39 seconds after the start, Christopher Mitchell, who competed in the TNT Marathon a week earlier, came home first, unchallenged and looking comfortable. Second place was Isaiah Alder, and Omari Thompson came third in 17 minutes, 34 seconds.
I feel really happy and honored because Last week I did the Trinidad and Tobago Marathon and I placed second place. So last year I also ran this race and I was second in that race, but I came first this year.
Among the ladies, it was Alexia John in 20 minutes and 31 seconds taking the title. Second was Hekpera Kafra in 26:19, and Claire Fortune was third in 26 minutes 52 seconds.
I just came to one 5K and I kind of fell in love with the sport, and I was always involved in other sports, so this was no different for me. I'm an adventurous person, so I like to take part in new things.
Two of our clergy also competed in the race, Father Michael Trestrail and Father Matthew Martinez. The event ended with a cool-down led by Father Robert Christo and team. I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
And while the Catholic News Steps for Hope brought people together for health and fitness, the now annual event is more than that. It is also a day for family to spend time together, for prayer and fellowship outside the walls of the church, a time to catch up with old friends, and a time to make new friends and to new memories. Laura Pickford-Gordon has an overview of the day's activities.
Prayer came before the racing, with Vicar for Communications, Father Robert Christo, telling children that as they ran, they should be instruments of praise. Father Christo blessed the various booths from sponsors and Catholic groups.
Finish their 1K and then the 8 to 12, right?
Before the 5K, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon also reminded all of the spiritual that cannot be forced from the physical.
That in everything we do this evening, that we may give glory to your name, and that we may allow you to be with us in amazing ways.
Families were out in full force to give moral support, and in the case of young racers, run alongside their children.
Luxury spas and reliable.
Crossing the finish line was the goal, but the children in Winners Row shared about their love of running and their achievement.
Well, I feel happy and good at the same time.
Why?
Yeah, because I like going in 1Ks. I always wanted to win a race.
You always wanted to win a race. Do you often run?
Not that much.
Not that much. But you like running? Why?
Because I like to stretch out my legs.
You like to stretch out your legs? Is this the first race you've done so good in, or you've done good in other races?
I've done good in other races.
I like the feeling of it. You know, I like, running and finishing. And then, you could like go and get interviewed and stuff. And it could end up on the newspapers and stuff.
There was ample opportunity for patrons of the event to get moving, even if they were not part of the race. And the joy that filled the day was obvious. The Steps for Hope was more than a race, as old friends met and new friends made. This is Laura Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
It's time for us to stretch our legs, perhaps. The Yale Young Global Scholars Program, a prestigious 2-week summer program offered by Yale University, attracts brilliant young minds from around the world every year. This year, our very own Chrisanne Bidesi was selected as one of the scholarship recipients. And get this, she's the very first recipient of the scholarship from our country. Dale Sideno spoke to Chrisanne and tells us more in this report.
Seeing Chrisanne Bidesi, you have been admitted into the Yale Young Global Scholars Program, and I was so grateful and excited, especially because the letter included that I'm actually the first person from Trinidad and Tobago to have ever been admitted into this particular program.
For Form 5 student of St. Joseph Convent, San Fernando, Chrisanne Bidesi, being selected for the Yale Young Global Scholars Program is a dream come true. With future ambitions to pursue anthropology at Yale, she said that competing against young scholars from around the world was no easy task.
To get into the program, you would have had to have an extremely good GPA, you would have had to have good grades, a myriad of extracurricular activities to prove that you're, well-rounded. And I would have also had to submit some personal essay questions, which I think really would have helped, boost my application.
The program, which runs from July 6th to 18th, will focus on economics, politics, and law. Chrisanne was awarded a merit-based scholarship which covers accommodation, healthcare, and meals. However, there are still some out-of-pocket expenses which must be covered as she embarks on this journey.
I'm hoping to have all of my funds and these basic things covered by mid-June. So I'm hoping that, we get the necessary donations. But so far, my mom and I have been receiving a tremendous support from Trinidad and Tobago and people who are not just from Trinidad and Tobago, but international persons who've seen my story, and I'm so grateful.
Anyone wishing to assist Chrisanne in making this dream a reality can contact her mother, Susanna Bedesi, at 336-2805 or make a contribution to First Citizens Bank, account number 1984690, under the name Susanna Bedesi. I am Dale Cedeno, reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
And it was a moment of deep joy and spiritual celebration for the Carmelite community and the wider church in Trinidad and Tobago, as family, friends, clergy and parishioners gathered to witness Greg Jude Durham's transition from brother to priest. The ordination took place on Saturday, May 24th at the St. Joseph Roman Catholic Church and was presided over by Archbishop Emeritus Robert Rivas. Altos reporter Keelan Jordan brings us more in this report.
Reverend Greg Jude Durham Okam was ordained to the priesthood under the order of the Brothers of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mount Carmel, North American province of St. Elias. Drawing from scripture, Carmelite spirituality, and over 5 decades of priestly experience, Archbishop Robert Rivas reflected on the sacred duties that now await Father Greg.
You will be anointed with the oil of gladness and made to share in the mission of Christ, to scatter the seed of the word.
The Archbishop gave timeless advice once given by the late Archbishop Anthony Panton to deacons on their ordination day.
Always be kind to your people, and remember, the people come first.
He reminded Father Greg on the sacred weight of his vocation.
The priesthood is a call, not a career, a way of life, not a job. We can act like priests because first and foremost, we are priests. Being comes before action.
The Archbishop also urged Father Greg to find his Carmel, a personal garden of prayer and contemplation from which he will draw grace to serve others. Remarks were also given by the Very Reverend of the St. Elias province in the U.S. I am Keelan Jordan reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
A beautiful coming together last Saturday morning at the St. Francis of Assisi Roman Catholic Church in Belmont for the celebration of 2 important anniversaries. 800 years since the Canticle of Cretias was written by St. Francis of Assisi, and 10 years since Laudato Si, an encyclical from Pope Francis, which raises the cry of creation and the need for us to care for the earth and its creatures. The congregation, including several students, was reminded that both documents serve to remind us that creation is not something apart from us, but is part of us, and both call us to deeper relationship with each other. Roger Sant tells us more.
The Canticle of Creatures was written 800 years ago by St. Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of the Belmont RC Church, during the final years of his life around 1225, and at the time he was suffering both physical and spiritual blindness.
Despite his pain, his spirit remained joyful and deeply united with creation and with God.
Delivering the homily at the Mass held on the 10th anniversary of Laudato Si, parish priest Father Michael Trestrel noted the significance of St. Francis's writing the Canticle of the Creatures as he was going blind.
And that reminds us that even when we ourselves, we go through our difficulties, even when we're suffering, that we are the ones called by God to see in the midst of that the joy and beauty of all of creation.
Both the Canticle of the Creatures and Laudato Si, he said, are trying to teach us that at the heart of everything is relationship.
That in the midst of the darkness of this world, in the midst of the darkness of our times, that we will see the glory of God, that we will see our brothers and sisters in all of creation, and that in that relationship, we will feel a call to responsibility, a call to deep care and concern for the common home, because we are bound to it all by the one God and Father of us all.
During the ceremony, a special blessing was bestowed on Laudato Si animators.
Lord God, we want to thank you for the gift of your children who have said yes. Yes, to walk in the footsteps of St. Francis, to see in all of creation a brother and sister, a relative in the Lord.
I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
It's time now for us to take a short break, and when we return, we speak with newly ordained priest, Father Greg Durham. But take a look at this week's trivia question.
I've seen how faith can be integrated into our work life. And that is why the Catholic News is hosting our inaugural God at Work Business Conference, fueled by faith and hope, fired up for success. This one-day interactive experience creates a space for reflection and renewal for real growth and business success. Attend or become a sponsor for this impactful event. If you're a business owner, an employee, or a budding entrepreneur, this conference is for you. And if you can't attend, consider sponsoring someone. It could change their life.
So thanks very much for staying with us. We have with us today the Archdiocese's most recently ordained priest, Father Greg Durham, Order of Carmelites. Father, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
How does it feel? Has the oil worn off on your hands as yet?
I don't think so. It kind of jolted me just now when you said Father Greg Durham. I think it's still shocking me a bit.
Mm-hmm. That is still sinking into you.
Very much. I just returned to our house here in Harrison, New Jersey, after the ordination, and some of the brothers in the community, their first greeting was "Welcome back, Father," and I think I was still left in disbelief that it all happened.
It has happened. But tell us about that experience on Saturday for the ordination.
To be honest, I had a sense of calm throughout. I started the morning. Bishop Rivas spent the morning with the Deacon Ryan, and I just before we walked down to the church, and so we had breakfast together, and we were able to chat and do our morning prayer together. So that kind of really just put me into a good space, prayerfully and emotionally. He offered words of encouragement. And his last words before we left the house really was, "You just seem so calm and at peace." And even walking down to the church, I felt that, I just felt this is where I wanted to be. This is where I had to be. I was at peace.
What was the high point of that celebration for you?
the litany.
The litany.
The litany. It was truly moving, just being prostrate. And every time each saint was called, it just felt like each one was accompanying me in prayer. It was just a remarkable feeling, very a high prayerful moment for me throughout the liturgy. So it kind of got me on a high there, and I don't think I've ever been down since then. So I'm still on a little bit of cloud nine with that.
But certainly the journey to that moment was long, but and it would have had its ups and downs. How was that journey for you as as a postulant, as a novice, heading into priesthood? How was that journey for you?
Yeah, truly it has been a bumpy road. I can only attribute a lot of it to prayer, and the support of people who are journeying with me, my family, my mom in particular, and my communities. They have accompanied me and supported me in throughout these years in prayer, and um, even in weak moments. Um, After I completed my novitiate, I lost my dad during COVID. It was quite abrupt, and it was difficult because I couldn't come home to Trinidad for the funeral. So even that, kind of it got me at a very low point. So a lot of healing has happened over the years to the point that, to where I was on Saturday, and I just, I felt like he was very much present, um, praying with me and alongside me. Um, and there was a kind of a joy of that, like he's not physically there, but I knew, he was there joining me in prayer. So those were some of the low moments, but they were very much a lot of high moments. We live in community, and my brothers have been, supporting me and joking with me and offering as much advice throughout these last few years. And you know, I, I said at the Master Thanksgiving, I said to those present, I never once took any piece of advice for granted. Anything that was offered at me, I took it with humility and moments of growth. And I think throughout these years, that has helped me to become the individual that I am today, the priest that I am today.
Why the Carmelites? We've seen Father Jonathan Steele very recently being ordained. We had Father Michael just about 2 or 3 years before that as well. Something seems to be attracting young men now to the Carmelites more perhaps than to the diocese or the other religious orders. Why the Carmelites?
It started for me, with just an intrigue, just an interest. I have quite a devotion to Our Lady, and silence and contemplation. Those were just the starting moments for me. And when I first began discerning, those really hit home for me. And throughout these last 8 years of formation, aspects of the charism have really been incorporated into my own life. The aspect of communal living and praying together has really sustained me, and I've grown so much into a communal type of prayer, balanced together with silence. By nature, I enjoy silence, and I experience the presence of God in silence. So, as I grew in my own vocation, I kind of, realized this is where I wanted to be. And then you have the added blessing of turning to Mary as our mother and our sister, and knowing that she's continually interceding for us, and that just made it perfect for me.
Any advice for a young man, thinking of priesthood, religious life?
Yeah, my advice has always been be open to what God is asking of you. Don't run away. Don't think this is not for you. I tried it, and God found me. I it took me 10 years before I finally applied to the Carmelites. And it's a testament that God gives you some space, but He never lets you go. So I always say, the yearnings of the heart, the yearnings of the spirit speaking to you, and to find yourself a good spiritual director and somebody that can guide you in the direction of where God wants you to be, even if you can't discover it yourself. But be open, definitely.
Good. Father Greg, thanks very much for speaking with us. We want to thank you very much and wish you all the best for your priesthood going forward. We look forward to seeing you in Trinidad again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much for staying with us. We'll be right back.
In this Sunday's issue of the Catholic News, the Carmelite community and the local church welcomed the priestly ordination of Father Greg Durham. Our Green Thumb columnist Rihanna Boudram offers some advice for the farming community as the rainy season begins. And the St. Joseph Convent Port of Spain class of 1975-77 hosts their reunion, donating more than $100,000 to their alma mater. Here are some common events. I am Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
Thanks very much for staying with us. Pope Leo has declared himself a Roman, the last step in the process of establishing himself as the Supreme Pontiff of the Catholic Church. He's been doing a lot more, as we hear in this report.
Pope Leo XIV had a busy Sunday with a schedule full of events. The Regina Caeli prayer in the morning, taking possession of St. John Lateran in the afternoon, and a visit to St. Mary Major to finish the day. However, before heading to the Cathedral of Rome, the Pope made a stop along the way. He paused at the foot of the Capitoline Hill staircase, where Rome City Hall is located, and where the mayor of the city was waiting to pay the Pope tribute. Pope Leo XIV spoke about the collaboration between both institutions, each with their own sphere. He also emphasized the spiritual and social dimension of the Pope's mission. But it was with the following words that he received a round of applause from those present.
Appena dopo l'elezione, ricordavo ai fratelli e alle sorelle convenuti in piazza San Pietro che sono con loro cristiano e per loro vescovo. A titolo speciale, oggi posso dire che per voi e con voi sono romano.
With this decision, Pope Leo XIV has revived an ancient tradition in which the city of Rome, of which he is bishop, pays him tribute before he proceeds to St. John Lateran to take possession of the basilica.
The Anglican Archdiocese of Trinidad and Tobago is celebrating its 200th anniversary and recently unveiled a commemorative book to mark the auspicious occasion. The richly illustrated bicentennial book entitled Holy Trinity Cathedral, 1823 to 2023, celebrating 200 years, contains historical snapshots, reflections from clergy and parishioners, architectural details, and archival photographs. Here's Clisha Best with more.
The launch of the Holy Trinity's bicentennial book took place at Hayes Court, Port of Spain, on Sunday, the 25th of May.
Mama, as you call her, that venerable old lady at the corner of Hart and Abercrombie Streets in Port of Spain, is being rightly honored today.
Anglican Bishop Claude Berkeley highlighted the cathedral's historical significance as the spiritual and cultural cornerstone of Port of Spain. He said the church was dedicated in 1823 and has served as a cathedral for 153 years, underscoring its foundational role in the Anglican mission in Trinidad.
It is important to note that the church is not 200 years a cathedral, but 49 of those years was served as a parish church, and to date we are 153 years as a cathedral church.
The publication, a product of 3 years of dedicated effort, was edited by Dr. Phaedra Pierre, who also chaired the organizing committee. She explained why they chose to do a book.
Books are lasting.
You know, you could talk, you could have stories, but when it's down in print, it's lasting.
The book is currently available at various Anglican parishes at a cost of $400. I am Clysha Best, reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
And that's a wrap for our show this week. Thanks very much for viewing. As we go, we continue to encourage you to pray for Trinidad and Tobago, to read your Bible, and to learn your faith. And as we go on this Indian Arrival Day, we leave you with some images of an Indian arrival exhibit at the National Library in Port of Spain. Do have a wonderful holiday, everyone, and stay safe.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.